Mahabharata, Chapter 19, The Pandavas in the Forest, read by Nirvan Bajaj and Ekveer Bajaj. Mahabharata, Chapter 19, The Pandavas in the Forest. Before Vaishnampayan started on his recital, King Janamjay asked Vaishnampayan, "Tell me, O sage, how my ancestors, the valiant sons of Pandu, reacted to the humiliations meted out of them, how these great souls, derived of their wealth, spent their 12-year exile in the forest, and how the Princess Draupadi, who had always lived in luxury, could bear the hardship of forest life." Vaishnampayan answered, "Having been defeated by the wicked sons of Dhritarashtra in the deceitful game of dice, the Pandavas, with their anger evoked, picked up their weapons and came out of Hastinapur, accompanied by Draupadi. They proceeded northwards, and 14 of their attendants, along with their wives, followed them. On hearing the fate of the Pandavas, the citizens of Hastinapur came out of their homes. In their sorrow and anger, they did not spare in their criticism even Bhishma, Vidur, Drona and Kripa. And they said to one another, 'The sinner Duryodhana, aided by Shakuni and with the approval of Karna and Dusasan, wants to rule over us. So our families, our houses and belongings will no longer remain protected. When an evil man wants to rule with the help of other evil men, how can one's family honor be guarded? How can our heritage, religion and happiness be preserved? It is certain that under Duryodhana's rule, the whole world will come to a sorry end. So let us accompany the kind-hearted, righteous and valorous Pandavas wherever they go." Saying this, the citizens went up to the Pandavas and said, "We are distressed that you are being banished from our kingdom through the treachery of our cruel enemies. But we are your friends, well-wishers and ever faithful servants. So please don't desert us. We are sure we will perish under the rule of this evil king. The company of a wicked man also causes moral degradation. On the other hand, just as the presence of a flower makes the dress, water, grains and even the soil fragrant, the company of a great man uplifts one's morale. A righteous man always proclaims and displays the qualities deemed proper by the Vedas and the social codes of conduct. And all these qualities, either separately or collectively, are present in all of you. And we, for our own benefit, are desirous of living amongst righteous people like you." Yudhishthira said, "You have attributed to us qualities we don't possess. And indeed, we feel a sense of glory because of it. It is only because of your affection and sympathy for us that we seem to possess the qualities you have mentioned. I would request you to stay back and take care of Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, Vidur, my mother and other relatives, who also share your grief because of our going into exile." Thus, addressed by Yudhishthira, the citizens reluctantly and sadly returned to their homes, but a few Brahmins remained with the Pandavas. The Pandavas then rode on their chariots and came to a big banyan tree on the bank of the Ganga and decided to spend the night there. At nightfall, the Brahmins lit a sacrificial fire and entertained Yudhishthira by chanting Vedic hymns and saying words of assurance. The next morning, as the Pandavas were about to enter the forest, Yudhishthira said to the Brahmins, "We have lost all our wealth and are going to live in the forest, sustaining ourselves on fruits and roots. The forest is infested with snakes and other dangerous animals. How can I then look after you? Nor can I ask my brothers to acquire food for you. They are all upset about Draupadi's humiliation and the loss of our kingdom." The Brahmins replied, "We will willingly accept your way of life, whatever the hardship. We are devoted to you and will make ourselves useful to you by helping in your religious rites. Do not turn us away like this. Even God favors his devotees. especially the righteous Brahmins. We will obtain our foods ourselves, look after your well-being with our prayers, and entertain you with interesting tales. Yudhishthir said, I know that your presence will be a source of immense joy to me, but how can I bear the fact that you are going to suffer just because of me? Then Dhaumya said,
O King Surya, the sun is the provider of food for all the creatures. Worship him for the means to maintain the Brahmins.
Thus, advised by Dhaumya, O monarch, Yudhishthir started the austerities to propitiate Surya. Standing in the waters of Ganga, Yudhishthir faced the sun, consumed nothing but air, and offered prayers with flowers and grains. He said, You are the eyes of the universe. You are the soul of all that is living. All the celestials follow your radiant chariot in pursuit of your blessings. I too beg of you to bestow on me food for offering to my guests. Pleased by his prayers, Surya appeared before Yudhishthir and said, Your desires shall be fulfilled. I shall provide you with food during all these 12 years. Take this copper plate. Every day this plate will remain full with the choicest food till Panchali eats it. And in the 14th year from today, you will be restored to your kingdom. Saying this, Surya disappeared from view, and the righteous son of Kunti came out of the water. On returning, he first paid respect to Dhaumya and then embraced his brothers. And after Draupadi paid her respect to him, he took her to the kitchen and made her cook the meal. The food cooked was very small, but it grew to fill the plate. And Yudhishthir first served the food to the Brahmins, then to his brothers, and ate the leftovers himself. And only when Draupadi finally finished her meal did the plate become empty. Thus, with the help of the sun god, Yudhishthir himself, radiant like the sun, could offer food regularly to the Brahmins. One day, the Pandavas, Dhaumya, and other Brahmins proceeded to the Kamyaka forest. As the Pandavas went to the forest, Dhritarashtra felt sad and said for the ever-intelligent Vidur. He said to him,
To you all the Kurus are equal. Do offer some advice which will be good to both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Tell me how the subject can be drawn to our side and how to prevent the Pandavas from overthrowing us.
Vidur replied, Restore to the Pandavas the kingdom originally given them by you. Then alone can you avert loss of reputation, dispute within the family, and complete subversion of righteousness. Otherwise, utter ruin will destroy the family of the Kurus. Once angered, Bhima and Arjun would destroy all their enemies. And if Duryodhana does not agree to this, punish him and offer the entire kingdom to Yudhishthir. Dhritarashtra said, What you say is to the advantage of only the Pandavas. It is true that Pandavas are like my own children, but Duryodhana is my own flesh and blood. How can I shun him for the sake of the Pandavas? Vidur, I always trusted you, but now I see that you are giving me wrong advice. You may go wherever you like. I do not need you. Saying this, O monarch, Dhritarashtra left the court, and Vidur, muttering to himself that the destruction of this family was inevitable, went away to join the Pandavas. In the forest, Yudhishthir was resting with Draupadi, his brothers, and the Brahmins when he saw Vidur coming towards them. He then said to Bhima, Is he coming at the behest of Shakuni to invite me for another game of dice? Does Shakuni want to win over our weapons also? If that happens, it will be difficult to get back our kingdom. The Pandavas then stood up and greeted Vidur and asked him about his mission. Vidur told them about his conversation with Dhritarashtra and said, Like an ailing person who loses his taste for good, Dhritarashtra did not pay any heed to my advice. Now listen to my advice. One who follows the path of forgiveness in spite of great suffering and shares his fortune with his allies wins mastery over the whole world. While Vidur was engaged in conversation with the Pandavas, Sanjaya, the messenger of Dhritarashtra, came there. After paying respect to them and resting a while, he said to Vidur, "O Vidur, Dhritarashtra is remembering you. Save his life by going back to him." Hearing this, Vidur took leave of the Pandavas and returned to Hastinapur. Dhritarashtra embraced him and said,
"Fortunate I am that you have come back to me. Please forgive me."
Vidur said, "O king, I have already forgiven you. You are my master. Your sons and the Pandavas both are equally dear to me. Seeing the Pandavas in distress, I showed more concern about them." With this conversation, O king, these two illustrious brothers became very happy, but Duryodhan became agitated at their reunion. Duryodhan called Shakuni, Karna and Dushasan and said to them, "Vidur is always a friend to the sons of Pandu. I seek your advice so that he does not succeed in persuading father to bring back the Pandavas. I would rather kill myself than see them reinstated." Then Shakuni said, "The Pandavas are truthful. They will never break their vow even if your father insists on their return now. If they really come back, we can find some means to get rid of them." And then Karna said, "I am sure the Pandavas will not come back without completing the full term of exile. Even if they come back driven off by greed, we can again defeat them in a decideful game of dice." Hearing these words of Karna, Duryodhan was not too happy, turned away his face. Reading his mind, Karna, with an angry look, said, "O king, listen to what I think in this manner. We will be like servants dancing attendance on the king. Let us take our weapons, ride our chariots and proceed to the forest to kill the Pandavas. Once they are dead, there will be no rift between the two families." Hearing these words, all were very happy and full of praise for Karna. They set out together on their chariots, intent on slaying the Pandavas. As soon as they started, my Guru Krishna Dwapayan divined what they had happened and hastened to where the Pandavas were residing. He dissuaded the Kauravas from marching on the Pandavas. After that, he went to Dhritarashtra and said, "I am much displeased with the exile of the Pandavas and the insult handed out to them. Now Duryodhan must purge from his mind this urge to kill them. If he goes, he himself will get killed." Dhritarashtra said,
"Due to my affection for my son, I am unable to see what is good for the Kauravas. Why don't you advise on what is proper to the ill-willed Duryodhan?"
Vyasa said, "Sage Maitreya had a meeting with the Pandavas and he is coming to you. Let him do this." Saying this, O king, Vyasa took his leave. Soon after this, Sage Maitreya came and told Dhritarashtra that he learned from the Pandavas about what had happened between them and the Kauravas, and that he was being concerned about the well-being of the Kuru race. He then turned to Duryodhan and said, "The Pandavas are mighty, matchless warriors and righteous and steadfast of purpose. Bhima alone has killed Rakshasas like Hidimba, Baka and Kirmira. Who is a match for Bhima? Moreover, they have Krishna as their kin and the sons of Draupadi as their brother-in-law. So don't be led astray by anger. Befriend the Pandavas." Duryodhan did not say anything but slapped his thigh in defiance. Angered, Sage Maitreya said, "The disrespect you showed to me and what I spoke shall bring about your destruction. The mighty Bhima will break your thighs with his mace." Alarmed, the Dhritarashtra tried to appease the sage and pleaded for forgiveness. Then Maitreya said, "The spell of my curse will be broken only if Duryodhan befriends the Pandavas." Duryodhan left the court much troubled in mind. Then to assess the might of Bhima, Dhritarashtra desired to know how Bhima killed Kirmira. But the angry Maitreya left without saying anything more. However, Vidur agreed to narrate the incident. Vidur said, 3 days after they left the place, the Pandavas in the dead of the night reached Kamyaka, a forest infested with man-eating Rakshasas. As soon as they entered the forest, they saw a threatening Rakshas with a torch in his hand. His red eyes were burning like fire, his long hair was standing upright, and his long white teeth were piercing the darkness. Seeing this, he stretched his long arms and let out a thunderous roar. With the roar, all the birds and beasts fled in terror.
Gah!
Then Draupadi fainted. Yudhishthira asked the Rakshas, "Who are you? What do you want of us?" The Rakshas replied, "I am Kirmira, the brother of Baka. But who are you here, ready to be devoured by me?" When Yudhishthira told him who they were, Kirmira said, "What luck! I had been looking for Bhima, who had killed my brother Baka, and also my friend Hidimba, and had abducted his sister Hidimba. Now that he himself has come into my clutches, I am going to kill this constant threat to the Rakshas." To this, Yudhishthira angrily replied, "This can never be." Then the mighty Bhima uprooted a huge tree and removed all its foliage. Arjun also readied his Gandiva bow. Bhima stopped Arjun and then going forward hit the Rakshas on his head with the might of Indra, wielding his thunderbolt. Unmoved, the Rakshas hurled the torch at Bhima, who easily stopped it with his left foot. Kirmira then too uprooted a tree. The two fought each other with trees as weapons, and the trees broke as reeds in the course of the fight. After battling with trees for some time, the angry Rakshas lifted a rock and threw it at Bhima, and seeing him undaunted, rushed at him and caught him by his arms. Bhima was still burning with anger because of the insults heaped on Draupadi by Duryodhana. His whole wrath now fell on Kirmira. He caught Kirmira by his waist and shook him, and the Rakshas trembled like a tree in a storm. And he tried to crush Kirmira in his arms, and the Rakshas screamed in pain.
Yashachamo!
Seeing that the Rakshas had almost fainted, he placed his knee on the waist of Kirmira and strangled him. Vidur ended the story. "O monarch, on my way I saw lying there the body of Kirmira slain by Bhima, and I heard of the superhuman deed of Bhima from the Brahmins who were present there." Hearing in detail how Bhima had killed Kirmira, King Dhritarashtra heaved a deep sigh and became immersed in thought. On learning that the Pandavas had gone into exile, the Bhojas, the Andhakas, and the Vrishnis came to the forest to meet them. The Panchal prince Drishtadyumna and the king of Chedai Drishtaketu and the valorous prince of Kekaya also came there, cursing the sons of Dhritarashtra. With Krishna at their head, all those Kshatriyas chiefs sat down surrounding the righteous Yudhishthira. As they discussed the future, Krishna said, "The earth will be drenched with the blood of this evil quartet of Duryodhana, Shakuni and Dushasan." Then he turned to Yudhishthira and said, "We are ready to fight and inflict defeat on them and their allies and make you the king." While saying this, Krishna became more and more angry, and it appeared as if he would destroy the whole universe. Then Arjun recounted episodes from Krishna's previous incarnations and said, "You are the Almighty, you are the truth, the Lord of Lords and the King of the universe." To this, Draupadi added, "Great Lord, in you everything is established. Then, O Krishna, how could one like me, the wife of the Pandav heroes, the sister of Drishtadyumna, and above all, a friend of yours, have been dragged into the assembly of the Kauravas to be dishonored? For 4 reasons I must always be protected by you. 1, for kinship. 2, for honor. 3, for friendship. And 4, above all, because you are the powerful Lord Krishna." Krishna then replied, "Do not grieve. I promise you this. You will become the queen of kings." Turning to Yudhishthira, Krishna said, "If I had been present in Dwarka then, I would have stopped the game of dice being played. Women, gambling, hunting and drinking. These are the 4 vices born out of passion." After Krishna and others had left, the Pandas moved to Dvaitavana for spending their 12 years of exile there. Many sages and the forest dwellers thronged there to meet the Pandavas. One evening, the Pandavas were discussing their state of affairs when the beautiful Draupadi said to Yudhishthira, "The wicked Duryodhana has made us homeless and reduced us into inhabitants of forests with only deerskin to wear. Is it your mind pained on seeing us thus? How is it that you do not nurse any anger against Duryodhana? It is contrary to the nature of a Kshatriya." Yudhishthira said, One who can control his anger ensures his own well-being. Forgiveness and non-cruelty are the qualities of great men, so I adopt the path of forgiveness. Aroused to anger by the words of Draupadi, Bhima said to Yudhishthir,
I do not understand this in action. Why don't we attack Kauravas and acquire what is rightfully ours?
Yudhishthir said, do not underestimate the might of our enemies. The Kauravas have Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Karna and Ashwadhama on their side. They all have celestial weapons with them. Unless we match their might, we cannot hope to win. When the Pandavas were conversing thus, the great sage Vyasa appeared before them. After the Pandavas paid their respect to him, he said, after reading your mind through the power of meditation, I have come to you to free your mind from the fear you have of Bhishma and others. He then called Yudhishthira aside and said, take this secret knowledge named Praktmistri, obtained which the mighty Arjun will achieve success. Let Arjun have this knowledge and worship Shiva and Indra for weapons that will make you invincible. You should also think of living in some other forest than this. Vyasa touched his head and gave him the secret knowledge. Yudhishthir paid respect to him, and after imparting thus the Yoga Vidya, Vyasa disappeared. The righteous Yudhishthir went from Dvaitya to the forest known as Kamyaka on the banks of the Saraswati. Then, remembering the sage's advice, Yudhishthir called Arjun to his side and said, Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Karna and Ashwadhama are proficient in weaponry, and they are all being looked after well by Duryodhana. So when the need arises, they won't hesitate to show their might against us. Take this secret knowledge which I got from Vyasa. With this you would be able to please Indra and Shiva and get divine weapons from them. Saying this, Yudhishthir gave to Arjun the secret knowledge of Pratismriti, and Arjun immediately set out in a pursuit of his mission. And thus ends the 19th session of our rendering of Vaishnapayan's recital of Vyasa's immortal Ityasa, the Mahabharata. Stay tuned for Mahabharata chapter 20, and it is called Arjun's Quest for Weapons. Please subscribe to this channel, like, share and comment on this video. Thank you and Namaste.